Welcome to my home.
You mean my home?
Okay, it's neither of our homes.
But it is our podcast.
Glitter and gay.
Coming your way.
So thanks for tuning in today. Welcome back, Glinda.
Yes, Tyler.
So over lunch, Glinda pulls out her TikTok shamelessly and starts showing me. She's like, well, on this one, I have 10 million views, 2 million likes, and 9,000 comments. It's like, all right, okay. And one of your most famous videos, I think, right? One of your most viral videos is what you did with a big ass, when you sold a big ass house and you got a big ass commission, and what you did with that money. And I watched that video and I felt attacked. I felt like Glinda Baker was coming for Tyler Whitman. Because I fully admit that I'm not great with money. I'm really not. I struggled financially for a really long time. You know, like I was so bad at making money that but I still lived in New York. I still had expenses and I refused to live within my means. Like that was just not something that I was going to do. And honestly, it was a big part of why I became such a heavy drinker. And then there was a moment when I finally started making big boy money and selling houses that it was like every time I got a $10,000 check, my first thought was like, what have I always wanted that cost $10,000?
Right.
I'm like, 'cause I'm going to go get it right now.
Right.
And I did. I started decorating my life with those things. And you get to a point where it starts to blow up in your face. And it sounds like you might have had that experience as well.
Absolutely.
Let's hear about some of it.
Well, I mean, think about it. I mean, both of us struggled with, we didn't fit in.
Mm-hmm.
And all of those beautiful things made us fit in or look like that we should fit in or draw people to us because we were fancy like that. And, I think that we succumb to, and I think that people in general, not just real estate agents, you got to fake it till you make it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot easier to arrive in your problems in a Mercedes than a Mazda.
Mm-hmm.
And the bottom line is
I've never heard that saying, by the way.
Oh no,
It's a lot easier to arrive to your problems in a Mercedes than a Mazda.
it's the damn truth.
Okay.
I mean, think about it. I mean, would you rather show up in your Miata or in your Mercedes SL 550?
Always that.
Hello.
Always that. I'll show up to my funeral in that.
It's funny. That video, when I posted it, when I made it, I never thought anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
Never thought anything about it. That was maybe shoot number 4 when that was shot. And I was just talking about it. That was like that one experience has probably shaped my life more than anything because I bought a Rolex. And within 6 months, I had to sell the Rolex back. So I bought it and then I had to sell it back. And I was like, oh my God. And I bought a Mercedes and I wrecked it within 2 months. And so it was just, me trying to, fill the void.
Mm-hmm.
And I hadn't learned about money. I didn't know much about money. Money was very taboo. And I was single and looking, and I had to look pretty to find a husband, and I had to look successful to find a husband. And I just pissed that money away. And every time I drive by that unit on Lenox Road, I mean, it's still there.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I drive by that townhome on Lenox Road, I almost want to become physically ill.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think that part of maturity and part of self-awareness and owning your mistakes is being able to articulate that not only internally but externally for somebody else. I don't want my children to make the same mistakes I've made. And so, I I look back and every time I make a purchase, I always think to myself, like, okay, why am I making this? Why am I doing this? Like, what is there, am I trying to fill something that's missing? Or is this really an investment in a wise investment? So rather than looking at money and making expenditures, I am really looking at money and making investments.
Interesting. So I worry that I've made some recent mistakes. I don't know if they were mistakes. They were lessons and moments. So when things started to go well in my career, there were I've always wanted to fit in immediately, right? Like I want everybody to know. I told you this was recent that I put that post up of how much I sold last
Yeah.
year, and then was like, what was that about? You know what I mean? And so I read, I think it was actually in Ryan Serhant's first book, and I'm a big Ryan Serhant fan, way before I was on the show. And in his book, he talked about a moment of where he had just closed a few big sales, and he went shopping for a watch, and the whole story was actually about a sales strategy that he uses, where he shows people something that's like way more expensive before it's kind of like this, like you surprise them and you go down. And he used this analogy of buying his first watch. And he was like, I thought I was going to go out and spend a few grand on a watch. And I'm probably not quoting the story perfectly. And he was like, and then I went out and somebody put on a watch that was like $15,000. And I was like, absolutely not. And he's like, but then they put on a watch that was $9,000. And he's like, and I loved it. And he's like, and because I had just gotten off the shock factor of the $15,000 watch, he's like, $9,000 seemed fine. And I bought the watch.
Yeah.
And he was like, and there was that immediate shock moment of, did I just spend $9,000?
Yeah.
And now I've got a watch. And, and I'm sure now he has a lot of watches. That man sells a lot of real estate and makes a lot of money. And then I was filming one day, and Steven, one of the producers of the show, he has a great watch collection, and he's really good about like going on eBay and finding like these cool vintage Rolex watches and things. And he just very casually said to me in one moment, he's like, you're very successful now. I think it's time that you had a power watch. And he wasn't trying to do anything other than just say that in passing. That was not like a demand or anything. And I went home and I was like, oh, so I have to have a watch. I'm a successful broker now. And like, that's a thing that I have to have. And so I had a very similar moment. I went out to Watches of Switzerland and I was like, I'm gonna get a Rolex. I was like, I guess that's just what I do to fit in. Rolex is on a huge delay right now. So they didn't even have Rolexes for me to try on, let alone.
Thank God.
Thank God. Otherwise I wouldn't be able to afford this podcast. Or this house. And so I did. I like tried on all these different watches. And to be honest, I've never worn watches. It was just all of a sudden there was like this pressure on me that I needed to own a power watch to prove that I was successful. And I'm just not a watch person. I went on, tried on a ton of watches, eventually tried on this watch, the only watch that I own. It's Hublot. It's gorgeous. It's green, my favorite color. I put it on. I thought it was so handsome. And I think it was $15,000. I mean, it's an expensive damn watch. And for something that I like it. It's now important to me because I spent $15,000 on it. Then do you know, I get every once in a blue moon, somebody will compliment my watch and it'll feel good. But I'm like, every time I look at it, I'm like, I like everything about you except the price tag.
Right.
And like, I'm not discerning enough. I can't look at anybody's watch and see if it was like a $50 watch or a $50,000 watch. I just don't know the difference.
Yeah.
And now, like, I go and I do look at watches more because I was like, are these an investment? Like, do you sell them later for more money? And like, when I look at Rolexes online, I was like, why is that one 20,000 and that one 150,000? I just can't figure it out, right? And so I'm at a spot in my business, and maybe you can relate to this, where there's a lot of money coming in.
Yeah.
You were talking about top line revenue.
Yeah.
And then a lot of money that is going out. I'm going to say going out for now because I want to talk about the difference between
Right.
that I'm investing in my business and growth and in myself. sometimes I am investing in my public image. Some of it I do think is an investment. And then some of it is, what do you call it? Conspicuous consumption.
Yeah.
Just trying to, is that
Yeah.
purchase of just like, look at me, look at what
Yeah.
I have.
Yeah.
Okay.
The look at me purchase.
Okay. So I actually want to break down those three.
Okay.
All right. So investment in business. Tell me what when I say you're investing in your business, what are those money going outs?
So for me, I forensically analyze every penny that I spend
Oh,
in
good
my
for you.
business. So number one, if it's something that we're not using, so we bought it. So great, agent legend. The lead comes in, it sends a text, blah 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 blah. It does some automated something or other. $200 a month. Nobody ever used it. Nobody ever set it up. $200 a month. 2 years later, $5,000. Gone. And we got no return on it. Zero. That was the last time. I said, that's it. No more. We're not doing that.
Yeah.
So we have 90 days. You have 90 days to implement it, use it, and show me that it's making us money. And if it's making us money, if it's making your life easier, if it's a trigger point for the consumer, so that's what I'll look at. Are we using it? Is it making us money? Is it saving you time? Is it a trigger for the consumer? Then we keep it.
Okay.
And if it does not, then it's an expense that we're getting rid of. But everything has a 90-day life.
Do you know what I immediately think of?
What?
So a product that a lot of real estate agents use and tell me that it changed their life, and I do believe in the product, is BombBomb.
Yeah.
And I'm a video person, so
Yeah.
you'd think I'd get a lot of value out of
Yeah,
BombBomb.
absolutely. Me too.
You pay BombBomb right up front. It's
Yep.
$500 a year.
Yep.
And then you
It's
get it
how
for
much a year?
500.
Okay.
And you pay that, and then it's at the beginning of the year. So I paid that $500 and forgot.
Yeah.
Literally forgot, because like the whirlwind of business, and I never used that product. And then it was like 14 months later, because I don't analyze my money as often as I should. And I'm like, what was that $500 charge 2 months ago? And I was like,
Right.
oh, right, that's BombBomb. I don't even have the app downloaded.
Right.
I was like, you have to use it on the app.
Right.
And I forgot about it again. And last month, I saw that $500 charge. I've now paid $1,500 over 3 years, and I don't even have the app on my phone. I've never
Right.
even given it a chance.
Right.
This isn't me saying BombBomb's good or
Oh,
bad.
no.
I hear it's amazing.
Yeah.
And every single time I see it go off, I'm like, well, I just paid for a year. I'll use it this year. And I was like, let's just see what happens. So I don't go into just like, let me just unsubscribe. Finally. I'm like, let me see if I use it this year.
No.
No. Okay. So
No.
not a good investment for
You
me.
haven't
For me.
you haven't used it. So this is the thing. So you give yourself the 90 days. Give yourself the 90 days. And typically I will go to the company and I will ask them, will you give me 90 days for free?
Oh,
I
interesting.
always ask them, will you give me 90 days for free? Because at this point in the Glinda life, everybody wants to give me 90 days for free, thinking that if she uses it, she'll talk about it.
Of course.
Because I absolutely will love your product and I will never ever slam any product. Agent Legend is a great product for that agent that will set it up and use it.
Mm-hmm.
I won't do that.
Right.
And this is what makes me insane. Is like, think about BombBomb. Here are two people who use massive amounts of video in their business. How much do you think it would cost BombBomb to have somebody set it up for us? Like literally, to have Bob set it up on your phone, set it up on my phone, and say, look, this is how you use it. Are you guys going to use it? Or are you going to have an assistant put it together? Like, let me show somebody how to use this. We'd love for you to use our product. Do you know what that would do for their business? Like, do you have any idea if the two of us used BombBomb? But that's the problem with these products, is they don't have somebody who will do it for you. The 3 words done for you, is almost my favorite, like praise the Lord and pass the money. Like done for you, done with you. I love that type of product. And number one, as real estate agents, usually we're most artists.
Yeah.
And if you will show us how to use it or you'll do it for us, we'll most likely use it and pay a premium.
One of the issues that I have as a real estate agent, and I think, even like medical professionals, lots of industries have this, is that like people who make products that support your business, and I think they believe in their product, we're just inundated with
Yeah.
so many like, oh, if you do this, you'll have this. On how many messages a week do you get on social media of pay me $50 and I'll grow your following and I'll do
Yeah.
this and I'll do that? And I just like I roll my eyes at all of it at this point
Yeah.
because there's just too much
Yeah.
and none of I don't know what to do anymore. It's also why I don't go to as many real estate seminars, is because I'm like it's just a like a sales
Yeah.
fairground, and I'm
Right.
like I just wanted to come and meet some people and learn some new techniques,
Right.
and it just becomes too much for me. All right, so now let's move on, because a huge pillar of your business is your gifting program and your gifting platform.
Yeah.
And so that ain't free.
No.
That ain't free.
No, it's not free.
Okay, so where do you divide of like how much am I willing to invest into gifts? And I feel this way about video too. It's probably hard to quantify the exact ROI. Like it's probably hard to say I send this many gifts and I get this many referrals.
Correct.
So how do you go about dissecting that investment?
So the gifting, like the video, is a top of mind investment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because you're gifting to keep Bobby and Susie, to keep yourself top of mind for Bobby and Susie. So when Bobby and Susie are at the PTA meeting and Hillary says, oh, I'm thinking about selling my house, Bobby and Susie say, well, you should contact Glinda. Okay. So we're moving from service provider into relationship. I love to make investment in product and investment in things that people are going to be, they keep me top of mind. I love that.
Right.
So, and keep me in relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, the gifting has really really ingrained me into relationship with my clients.
Got it.
It's how I got you.
It is how you got me. You sent me brownies, and I was like, I'm giving this woman a call.
But you know what? This is the thing that I think that people don't really realize. It works for me. My name's Glinda Baker. Get it?
Mm-hmm.
Baker. But what people really don't realize is that when you give someone food, like, what is the first thing your mother teaches you? Don't take candy from a stranger. Don't take food from a stranger. Anytime that you accept food from someone, automatically there's some relationship of trust.
Interesting.
Think about it. You're not taking food from somebody you think is going to poison you, right? So when you take the food, you trust that it's not going to kill you. Then you turn around and the food tastes great and you enjoyed it and you like the feeling that you got when you ate it. Like the cookie that we just had. Like I will never ever think about cookies without thinking about that dessert from Lulu's.
That was so good.
And so that takes you back to a moment when it tasted good. And you're like, okay, so number one, I trust her. And number two, I enjoyed what she gave me. So it takes them back to that feeling. So for me, food is great. Now, I did a podcast with John Rulin.
Wait, but how much money do you spend on the food?
I spend 10% in gifting.
You do?
10% of the GCI.
10% of top line?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
10% of the GCI a year.
Wow.
Yeah, I spend a truckload. Baked by Melissa, she has definitely, been the beneficiary of the fruits of my labor.
Well, and you've created a great business relationship with her, right? So you've turned that into something too.
Absolutely. I remember the first time that I came up here, my assistant said, hey, Glinda wants to come up. She wants to meet with your team to do some corporate gifting. And they're like, yeah, we don't do that. And Andrea was like, no. She really wants to kind of sit down with you and kind of, show you what her vision was. So I think that they met with me initially, like just kind of because Andrea was so persistent. And I get there, and so I'm sitting in this meeting with these two girls, And she's like, how many gifts are you thinking? And I said, well, probably between 70 and 100. And she goes, a year? I'm like, a month. She goes, what? I said, yeah. I said, like 70 to 100 gifts a month. She goes, I'll be right back. I mean, like they had no idea, because I don't want to tell anybody what I'm doing, because I don't want you to give me preferential treatment because you think, give for what you think you're going to get. I want you to give me what you're going to give every day of the week,
Okay.
because then that way I know what is your customer service level.
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I tell my team. It's like, you, regardless of the price point, the experience is the same.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, right?
Yeah, and Melissa has given me an amazing experience. They made a glitter Glinda cupcake, custom ribbon. I mean, they've done everything. But we do a lot of gifting. But again, it's an investment in our business. It's an investment in our clients.
Totally.
So I don't even look at it as an expense. Now, go ahead. I know you're going to get to our favorite part,
Which is
conspicuous consumption.
right. Because you and I both like nice things.
Beautiful
We like
things.
nice things that cost a lot of
Absolutely.
money.
Absolutely.
You bought those David Yurman bracelets.
Yeah, I love them.
They're gorgeous. We're
I'm going back to get another one.
I've got their
Yeah.
gorgeous men's ring here.
I know.
And I've got this Tiffany's necklace on. I've seen a whole variety of jewelry this
Yeah.
weekend. You do posts from the Porsche.
Yeah.
There's no, joke there. You drive a Porsche.
I drive a Panamera. I mean, but think about like the investment in Star sweaters.
You have a lot of star sweaters.
I mean, seriously.
And it's part of your brand.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of my brand. I mean, and that's the thing is like, I'm at the World Series and this guy says, I saw a blonde with a star sweater. I knew it had to be you. I watch all of your videos on TikTok. I'm not going to buy or sell a house, but anytime I think about real estate, I think about you.
Okay, but we need clothes. Like, we need shirts, we
Right.
need pants, we need shoes.
Right.
I'm thinking like jewelry,
Well, what
luxury
about it?
cars. So I guess, I have one of my wealthiest clients.
Yeah.
He gives me the money smackdown all the time. And he's like, Tyler, he's like, how much did you spend on that ring? And I told him how much it was. It wasn't cheap.
Yeah.
The ring I look at every day and I'm like, that was worth every damn cent.
Yeah.
The watch, I'm like, I guess they fit in kind of. So it's also just how you feel around that thing
Right.
that you bought.
How does it make you feel?
Right. But when I told him how much the ring cost, he was like, put that in a compounding interest calculator he's like, you're going to retire when you're 60. He's like, you want to retire young? He's like, so put it in for, 25 years and see what that $10,000 is. And it's something crazy. It's like $800,000. He's like, would you have spent $800,000 on that ring, knowing what that $10,000 was going to grow into over the next 25 years?
I've got an ex-husband he could marry.
Right. But so I do think about those things. I'm like, how do I decide like when I get to enjoy the fruits of my labor, and when do I need to put money in the bank? I just bought a ton of furniture for this house, designer furniture that I've always fantasized about owning. It was almost a down payment worth of furniture, and I can't wait for the furniture to get here. I feel zero regrets, but I'm not putting that in the fucking interest calculator. I don't want to know.
Tyler, I think that there's a fine line between living to work and working to live. And I think that at what point, tomorrow is not promised.
Amen.
It is not. And could I have lived in my rental house? Absolutely, 100%. Beautiful home, wonderful neighborhood. Could I have lived there? Absolutely. I don't know if I'll be here next year.
Mm-hmm.
And the house that I bought is everything to me. My kids' Christmases there, birthday parties there, Easter egg hunts there. The way it makes me feel has an intrinsic value to me.
Yeah.
I feel that in every fiber of my body. Am I going to have to work more to live in that home? I could argue that point, because the houses in that neighborhood are 3 times as expensive as the houses in my old neighborhood. So I'd have to sell 3 times as many houses in the other house as I will be in the neighborhood selling in this new house. So is that an investment? this house that you bought, is this an investment for your career in this neighborhood?
Mm-hmm.
Every day of the week. Now, did I need this Cartier watch? I didn't need it. Did you need that fancy watch? No, you didn't need it. And I will bet you $5 you won't ever spend $15,000 on a watch
Oh,
again.
of course not. Never. Never.
Will I ever spend the money on this Cartier watch again? No. But I'll have it for the rest of my life. And I could have bought 58 different fucking Apple watches that I would have hated.
Mm-hmm.
And every day I get up, I put this watch on and I love it.
It's gorgeous.
I love it. And I bought it secondhand. You wouldn't believe the price I paid for it. I got a deal on it. I mean, that's the thing is like, for me, I don't have anxiety around conspicuous consumption because I'm not trying to prove anything to anybody. But if I wanted those Star Gucci sunglasses and I wanted 3 damn pairs of them, I'm going to buy them.
Yeah.
Period. And I'm glad that I have the ability to do what I want to do when I want to do it. But I think that you've got to mature in to investing and understanding how to make your money work for you. That's the difference between driving or riding coach and riding first class.
Amen. I agree with all of that. I was actually really afraid that you were going to tell me something I didn't want to hear, and you've had more experiences that I have had, and like I actually feel like we have a lot in common with loving nice things and wanting nice things, and like I don't want to feel guilty about that.
No.
Right? Like this will probably be the only really expensive watch I own. This will not be the only expensive ring I own.
No.
I look at the ring. I mean, sitting in this light and watching it sparkle.
And you love it.
I do.
And
I
you
do. That
touch
makes
it.
me feel proud.
You touch it.
Mhm.
And I can see when you touch it, it's like it's taking you back to the moments that those 3 things that were like the trigger for you to purchase, like every time you touch it, it's almost like it's taking you back to that milestone sale.
Yeah.
It's taking you back to John Henry. You're thinking about him. So I just think like it the meaning, there's meaning and value. That's an investment with your money.
All right. I want to wrap this up with one question that made me think about. And I talked to my life coach about this, and my life coach is great with me around setting rules. And so like one rule before I fell in love was I had a few times that I went on like a date in the city and was like, oh, why don't you come out to the Hamptons with me? And then got out here and it was a disaster. And I would like tell her about it. She's like, okay, we have a new rule. She was like, 4 dates before anybody gets to come to the Hamptons with you. And I was like, oh, that's just good for me to like think. I'm like, okay, we went on 4 dates. Then I can, So the other thing was I was telling her, I was like, yeah, I'm like treating myself to lots of nice things. And she was like, for the chemical reaction, she's like, because I like to play with that reward system, right? Because it keeps me motivated. And she was like, every time you close a sale of X amount of dollars, you can go buy one nice thing. And so for me, it's every time I make a 6-figure commission, which is a big commission, I'm allowed to buy one nice thing up to a certain dollar amount that I won't say.
Right.
But, so that was one of the things that got this ring. I have this really beautiful coat. And I actually feel really healthy about that.
Right.
I'm like, okay, every time I get a super big commission, I get one nice treat. How do you do things like that? Do you treat yourself after closing a big ass house?
So I have different buckets. So all of the money from this neighborhood goes in this bucket that pays down the principal of the house.
Mm-hmm.
All of the money from social media and special events and speaking engagements, podcasts, all that money goes towards another bucket. So I like to see the money.
Mm-hmm.
Like I love to see the money. And then once I get to a certain number, then I have the reward to spend it on what that bucket was from. But I keep everything very separate because I don't ever want to be financially dependent on anyone except me.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want my son or daughter to ever have to be in a relationship with someone because they're financially dependent. including me. I don't want them to be in the relationship with me. So I want to teach my kids financial independence. And I think by showing them what I'm doing will help make them stronger. Because I don't want them to ever feel like that they're stuck somewhere because they don't have enough money. Because I know that I've been in that position before. And I don't ever want anybody to control my destiny. And I think that people control you a lot with money, whether it's your parents or your partner or your kids.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, financial independence is very important, and financial education for my kids is very important.
Well, you know what's important to me?
Pineapples.
Pineapples. Okay.
I love
so this voicemail, I did tee it up.
Hey, Glinda and Tyler. This is Victoria. I might be related to Glinda. I just wanted to ask a question about something I really struggled with when I was in real estate full time, and that is the anxiety of it all. With y'all doing such a large volume of real estate and working with lots of people that are spending a ton of money, how do y'all deal with the anxiety of it all? I would love to know. So I'll be listening. Thanks so much, guys. Bye.
Oh, that's funny that you were just talking about your kids. Then we got a voicemail from your. Oh, look at you.
You know, when I hear her voice, I just love her so much.
Oh.
You know, I think to myself, I created that. And I just, if you ever loved something so much that you couldn't imagine your life without them, and when I hear her voice like that, I'm so proud of her. I'm so proud of her, but I just love her so much. And she's such an amazing mother. I just think to myself, my gosh, that's my child.
Oh, that's so sweet. My mom is such like she loves being a mama,
Yeah.
and she's like, you'll never understand the way I love you until one day when you have a kid.
Oh God.
And she's like nobody understands. She's
Yeah.
like you're the only. She's like, I didn't know what unconditional was, and she's like whatever it is, I'll figure it out with you guys. She's like, everybody else has a condition.
Yeah.
She's like other people can be unforgiven.
Yeah.
She was like, you guys will always be forgiven.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, it's like really nice to know. I
Yeah.
can tell you're that way with your and my mom's name is Victoria, just like your daughter's name is Victoria.
Crazy. Anyway, sorry. Didn't mean to
So-
cry.
Well, I want to hear Mama's advice. You've been in the business since Jesus was a baby.
Since Jesus was a baby. Since she was a baby too. You know, I think that I think it's such a
You've made mistakes in the business, yeah? You've made, because I've definitely made some mistakes. You've made some mistakes.
well, you know, selling the wrong house. That was a mistake. But you know, I think that if you don't have anxiety, like, what is your care level?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that definitely the anxiety comes from, you know, how you care about your client.
Yeah.
And, you know, we talked a little bit in another episode about, you know, how do you advise your clients? How do you deal with, you know, is this the best thing for the client? And so I think that you've definitely got to set some boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
You've definitely got to do your best. You know, when you know better, you do better.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that you can take the weight of the world on your shoulders. And ultimately, in real estate, it is the decision of the client what they do and do not do.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, you are not, no matter how important we think we are, you are not the end-all be-all. It is their decision to make. So you do the best that you can do with the information that you have, and you try and guide them as best you can.
Yeah. One of my mentors said to me, when you've truly done your best, you get to release the outcome.
Yeah.
You know, because you did everything you could. And the interesting thing about real estate, and this is something I tell every real estate agent that's on my team and anybody who asks me for advice, is unfortunately there is not a specific roadmap on this one. It's truly the business where there's 1,000 ways to skin a cat.
Yeah.
And I like to make sure that my clients know that. Like, this is a little bit of a poker game.
Yeah.
And there are strategies and there are things that we can do, but I can't guarantee you the outcome. I have no idea what this other buyer who's working with somebody else is going to offer on this. I can't tell you if this seller is going to take this offer because it's so low. Yes, it's been on the market for a while. All I can tell you is, like, if that's what you want, this is the strategy I would use in this poker game.
Right.
And, let's put our best foot forward, and then we get to release the outcome together.
Yeah.
100%.
100%.
And just like setting those, because I think so many people think that, like, I'm going to get it done. I always get it done. That's an ego thing. Nobody always gets it done. Nobody,
No.
And so I think making sure that everybody's aligned on that, and, we're aligned on what the strategy is. We've had a very clear conversation. Ultimately, the client gets to decide.
Right.
We're given advice. We're telling them everything we know, every experience we've had. And then ultimately they have to decide how they want to proceed. And then letting them make that decision after I've given my advice, it takes the pressure off.
Absolutely. 100%.
I'm like, you got to do what you want. It's your money. I'm just here to tell you what I would do and what I strongly recommend.
Right. And I think that when you bring it personal, because, people ask us, what would you do? Glenda, how much would you pay?
Mm-hmm.
Glenda, would you live here?
Mm-hmm.
And I always tell them exactly what I would do. Like, I remember my girlfriend, her daughter is looking for a condo in Atlanta. And she goes, well, she wants to live on the west side of Atlanta. I'm not so sure about that. It's a little, scary to me. And I said, look, here are the 3 places that I would sell my own daughter.
Yeah.
And that's what you have to do.
I also like to draw on stories from past experiences. Like, I was working with somebody just like you, house of their dreams, came in a little safe. I told them they should go, and if I have any regrets, it's not pushing them a little bit harder. So I'm going to push you a little bit harder.
Yeah.
Because when I look back at that, what I learned from that is I shouldn't have let them do what felt safe. I should have said, it's time to feel a little unsafe. This is your dream home.
Right.
And so that's the advice I'm giving you right now.
Like my dream home. I felt very unsafe. I was like, oh my God, am I really going to do this?
And here we are. You were inside of my dream. We'll do next season in yours.
Oh my gosh. Would that be amazing?
I'll come down to Atlanta, baby.
And I have a fireplace. We could sit in front of it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You've got higher ceilings. This house is from the 1700s.
Oh, you know what though? I wonder how the audio would be in that big room.
We're in dynamic microphones.
Oh, we're in dynamic microphones.
Dynamic. I can't even do a cool voice. Bye.
Bye for now.
Bye.